Spoken language is a rich and wonderful thing in every single language and dialect. Each language has its own sound and texture, and each word spoken has meaning regardless of the language. And the combination of those individual words provides us a way to express complex ideas, deep emotions, and everything in between. But sometimes the combination of words sound good, but actually just don't make any real sense, or they're just plain dumb. Sayings are phrases that seem like they're poignant, but when we stop and say the words slowly and think a bit, they just don't stand up. And that's specifically the way that these sayings are most always universally used. Things like, everything happens for a reason. If we're talking about the reasons that God has, then yes, everything happens for the purpose that God has for us. But we rarely say that in that context. The context of the saying is supposed to give us comfort in the midst of hard things, the comfort that something good will come. Really? We see things happen all the time that have no logical reason. Give me a comforting reason for a tornado wiping out a community or a 50-car pileup on a foggy mountain that claims the lives of 30 people, or terminal cancer for that matter. None of those things has a reason that makes sense that gives any comfort in and of itself. Now, there's the training favorite, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. There are so many ways that this is just wrong. I get the concept of the phrase, overcome adversity and we will grow from it, and I believe in that. I've had to do that in my life. But the idea that what doesn't kill you is helpful is more often a lie. What about losing your father at 8? Now, that's my story. I guarantee that having my dad in my life for all of these years, even as broken a human being as he was, would have made me stronger, faster than I was able to do on my own in so many ways. And then there's one of my least favorite sayings, if you can dream it, you can do it. Well, what about having skills, talents, and abilities to do the thing in question? Dreams are great. Dreams are critical for achieving the creative innovations that have defined humanity since we were placed here on this earth. We all are created to create. To dream big dreams and to make them happen. Yes, but only if we have the capacity to do the thing. On the upside of this one, if you have a dream but no capacity to pull it off, go find someone who has the skills and partner up with them. So sure, when we take a sledgehammer to these phrases, they break down under the pressure, but there are a few sayings that I do think hold up a bit better. And that's what we're going to get into. This video is part of a series on some common and maybe not so common sayings and why they often end up being true. This is a 6-part series and you have been given episode number 4. I'll drop a card and a link in the description for the rest of the episodes of this series right here on YouTube. Now, if you watch or listen on other services, you're kind of on your own to discover the other episodes yourself. Okay, these bad sayings may not be as awful as I make them out to be. And sure, there obviously is a bit of truth in each of them, or they wouldn't be a part of our language. And obviously, with the sayings we are hitting in this series, they may not always be true in every circumstance. But there is something I believe that we can take from these sayings to apply to our lives and our creative endeavors. So here's the phrase we're going to break down in this episode. Practice makes perfect. Wait, hold on. No, that's probably the worst of the worst when it comes to phrases that are just not true. But it is a phrase that has been around since the dawn of time. I think. I wasn't there, but it is as wrong today as it was the first time it was ever spoken. And we'll discuss that in a minute, but somewhere along the way, someone smarter than me took that phrase and changed it to make it a saying that actually holds up. The actual phrase we're going to break down in this episode is, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. I think it's important to remind all of us that we are all created to create. This channel is all about developing and using the skills, talents, and abilities that God has provided to each and every one of us to create. And we all create in both artistic and non-artistic ways every day of our lives. We are all creators. And as creators, we have a regular need to practice with the skills, talents, and abilities that we have. And that practice is important for us to maintain the skills, talents, and abilities we have today and develop new ones to increase our capacity and our level of creative output. See, practice is the key to growth and success in every area of creativity, and that impacts all of our lives. Now, some of us have less need to practice than others. That, by the way, is not me. But God, in his wisdom, gives some folks higher natural ability than others in certain areas. But that doesn't mean that those people don't benefit from practice. They just benefit from practice better than the rest of us. The reason the idea that practice makes perfect is wrong is because there is no capacity for any of us to be perfect in any endeavor in life, and especially in our creative ones. Perfection is unachievable, and anyone that tells us otherwise is lying. The striving after perfection is a recipe for frustration and sorrow in our lives and in our creative endeavors. We cannot achieve the unachievable, but we can shoot for our creative output to be good, great, and maybe even the best. But none of those things are perfection. And in my estimation, that's okay. It is the little imperfections in life and in our creative endeavors that provide color, spice, flavor, texture. Insert your own favorite term for unique difference here. Perfection is not what we actually even want. We want something that is good and unique. And honestly, I don't think perfection can provide that. With the small twists in the phrase going from practice makes perfect to practice makes permanent, it affirms our inability to achieve and maintain perfection and puts the focus on what practice is actually for, making permanent the skills, talents, and abilities we grow and nurture every day. And it also shows us that we have to continue to practice to keep it permanent. Without regular practice, there is no way to keep our skills, talents, and abilities at the same level. We see this in sports all the time. You can't just throw a football to a receiver through a window in the defense that's the size of a mailbox without practicing a lot. Or say in golf, thinking we can consistently hit 300-plus yard drives without putting in the effort to practice regularly. And it's no different in our creative endeavors. I think that there is another saying that pairs well with this one, especially as it pertains to practice. If you don't use it, you lose it. And that is true. If we never practice, we will lose our proficiency in the use of the skills, talents, and abilities we have. Practice is so very, very important. But there is one huge word of caution we need to consider. We must take care of what we practice to the point of making permanent. Think about it for a minute. If we practice the wrong things, they can become just as permanent as the good things. So make sure that when we practice, that we are practicing the right things and practicing the right way. If we don't, we could actually practice our way into making permanent bad things that will take even longer to deprogram than the original bad technique or whatever it was. This is one of my favorite sayings because of how impactful the implementation of it in our lives can be for our creative endeavors and really for every part of our lives. Because this can be such an important aspect of our lives, we really need to take it seriously and do it right. Now, there is no one right way to practice to make permanent, but some good general advice is to find good teachers to learn from and to practice in a way that makes the knowledge permanent for each of us. Don't expect that we will all learn the same way. And most importantly, be consistent in our practice. Now, one last thing. It is easy to apply all of this to things we do, but don't forget that we have to practice with our skills, talents, and abilities in more important things in life, like our relationships with one another, and most importantly, our relationship with the Lord God. It might sound a bit silly, but we really do need to develop our capacity for relationships and for faith every day of our lives. So no, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice does make permanent. And we can all use a little more capacity and capability in our lives. So do the work of practicing and don't wait around until you achieve an unreachable perfection. Just take what you have been able to make permanent and go. Create and be a blessing. You can support our channel by subscribing, hitting that bell icon to get notified when new content comes out, and liking our videos. If you'd like to consider supporting our team financially, there's a link in the video description with more details. Those things will help our channel for sure, but if you do nothing else, please spend some time in the comments of our videos encouraging one another to create, to help others create, and to help grow that creative nature within us all. Oh, and you can check out these videos too. Thanks. We'll see you again soon.